Hello and welcome. So I've got the Carlsbro power amp again, you can see there up on the bench, and we had various people saying what they'd like to be seen done with this. Someone said a bass amp, JCM 800, someone said a high watt, and someone said leave it as it is, use it as it is, compare it to some solid state PA systems. So I've had various ideas there, but what I've decided to do for the time being, I'm just going to recap this, and then we can just have a bit of a play with it, and just see how useful it is. I've already got a project, and this is why I set this up. I've got a project to run through this that I'm working on now, that I'm repairing. So I've decided I'm just going to get this running up top drawer, so because obviously we've got leaky capacitors everywhere, and then later on maybe we can look at putting something into this. It's not a big deal to swap this board for something, once the board's sort of all together. It's not a big deal really to put something in here. It's not like we're building it from scratch. All the everything's there, and also, as one or two people pointed out, the holes are already punched for the tube sockets, for extra preamp tube sockets. But also, if and you probably can't see and it might just go upside down, but I'll try and turn the camera. So also, if we look at the chassis there, you can see the holes are punched out for extra controls as well, all the way along it. So and if we go, I don't know how far we'll get across because it's not the utmost, but yeah, you can see all the way along here, and there's an array of holes there. So that's useful. That's very useful. These caps I'd have to replace anyway. It makes no difference whether I do those now or later. Now this capacitor here, there's this big 20 plus 20. I've got some, and at 450 volts. I've got some small 22s here at 450 volts, and I can get a couple of those on there. Furthermore, I can reuse these if we decide to put another board in this, because it will be a turret board if I do it. I love turret boards, so I always put those in. And they're much narrower than this board, so I'll be able to use these caps again, just trim the leads back and use them again, so they won't be wasted by putting them in this. And if we we've got a 68 microfarad there. It's only a bypass cap. We'll put a 47 in there, something generic. That won't be a problem. We're not worried about if we take the board out we're going to lose one of those. We've got a 22 here again, so same with this one. Use a smaller one, and then we can use that again if we put a turret board in this. And then we've got a 47 at 160, which is a bit overkill in the bias. We could probably find something to go in there that's 47 at 100 volts. And I think that's about it for this. I don't think this needs any more. We can check these for leakage, these Mullard mustard capacitors, but they very rarely leak, so no big deal with those. And even if we swap those, it's no big deal. If we just decide to swap them just to protect the tubes, just in case there is a bit of leakage. Now these tubes are a bit mismatched as well, so I'm going to try and swap one out of each pair round and just see if we can get that a bit closer, then match a bit closer. And other than that, really, there's not a lot in this, is there? So it shouldn't take very long to cap this. So we've got to get this board out. And the best, obviously, I think someone's already marked the wires, but a quick photograph of those, there you go, that's no problem. We'll probably have to remake those because the wires just got a bit burnt. It's probably just not very good wire when it was taken out before. And then we've got these weedy grid stoppers, which I might just upgrade. There, we just take those off, and then if we look over here, this is the center tap down here on the transformer. We can just take that off, that ground off, and up comes the board. So no big deal. We can probably get that off in 10 minutes and get it out. And we've got like 1, 2, 3, 4 screws, 5 screws, and that's it. Right, there we go. Board's out. Took about 10 minutes or so to get that out of that, and it all looks good under there. So we gonna get some of these capacitors changed now. Right, so I'm just gonna, it's just something I always do, so just for quickness, so I can just snip all these out, just put a blue dot where positive is. Pretty elementary on that one because it's the 2-in-1. The ground's always 1, obviously. 1 there, and that is it. So we shall just cut all those out now. Start up here. There we go. Snip out this one. That's it, that's those out of there. Right, I've got this board recapped. I've not got it screwed down tight yet. So I'm going to run this amp up now and just make sure that this part of it works okay. Now I've just spotted something else as I was looking at these capacitors, and if we just come over here, if we can get down inside there, this switch has been changed and it's loose, and if you turn it, the terminal on the switch touches the node 1 of the HT. That's lethal. I didn't spot that when we were running it up, you know. I didn't really but obviously now I'm working on it, I'm checking it for safety, and so we're going to have to do something with that, because that can't be left like that, can it? Anyway, let's get this thing run up. Now we've got these caps done, we should get a little bit more output out of it, because that capacitor was shot, that bypass capacitor on that stage there. So the other thing to point out is I've now made my mind up that this board is not staying in this amp. I am going to build something into this, and with a few ideas that subscribers but viewers of the channel have left, we're going to build something into it. So I've not gone mad with the tidying up of these cables, and the reason is that I'm going to have to cut those short to do that, and then of course then I'm going to take a board out, they're going to be even shorter. So I'm just tacked on well, but then, as I say, and I've left these crappy 1/4 watt grid stoppers in there as well, because all this is we're just going to run this up, and it's just I've got a project for this to use, just to see how useful it is, and then from there on we're going to look at what we're going to build into this, because we've got a lot of options with this amp, providing we can get this safe enough in this, as I say, in this corner here. Right, we're just going to run this up now. I've just turned that switch away from that capacitor a little bit, it's a bit close for comfort. Got 170 volts on the variac. We'll just let that run. We've got sound. And we're away. And that's a lot louder than it was before. And we're only at 169 volts. And it's really making that speaker, it's swaging it. So that's loads better. So that capacitor, that bypass cap, amongst other things, was shot. Bit of a problem with that pot there, but we're not worried about that. $240 volts. You can tell that even since the last video. Whoa, that's just night and day from what it was before. Right, so that's been fairly successful, fitting those. So what we're going to do now is switch off and we're going to make sure these capacitors are discharged before this next test. Right, I've got the meter set up, we've got that connected, we've got it connected up to that first node. Let's see what hits it. 482 at 239 volts, so just in the ballpark there. So which means we can lose these two caps and put a couple of 500 volters in there. Just want to ease the variac a bit over. Right, let's see what hits these caps. 400 and 500 volts. Now that is at 248 volts on the variac, so I've gone quite high there, and the reason for that is that some people, one of my channel subscribers actually left a comment saying that where he lives he gets 248 volts at times, not all the time, sometimes, on his mains voltage supply. So at 248 volts we're at 500. I've never seen that where I live. I've seen about 242, something like that, 243 maybe, I can't remember. But we're well in, we're still, even at 248 volts, 500 volts, so we're just in there on the caps. So we're absolutely fine. At 240, it's 488 volts, so we're well under. Right, so we're looking at these caps now. So we've got AC coming in here and here, and then it goes through these diodes, comes out through this trace and comes to this red wire here, which then goes on to this first node of smoothing, which is wired in parallel and then seriesed out to this next capacitor. That then goes on from there, so we've got that smoothed going to there. This blue wire here is going down to the center tap. I've traced that through. That's right down to the other end yonder there. You can see him. He's there. The green wires on this cap here, you can just see over the top. These are, excuse the light shining off the chassis, because it's just reflecting back. These green wires are going, one's going to the choke, the other one's going onto this board, and that is feeding the screens. That yellow wire there feeds the screens, and you can, that wire there is that wire there, I do believe, and that's feeding the screen. So that's roughly what's going on there, without consulting the schematic and being more accurate, but that's basically what's going on. Standby switch here, and that feed down to the center tap is that it's going through the switch. And actually that yellow wire there, where's that going? Can't see where that's going, but anyway, that's a rough, it's just a rough, as long as we know roughly what's going on. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove all four of these caps, fit the two new 100 microfarads, that's what we're having in there. We're going to move the green wires onto the positive of one of the 100 microfarads. We're going to move this red wire, which is being fed from the diodes, to the other positive on the other capacitor, and then we're just going to wire the grounds up, and the job will be a squirrel. We've got the caps installed, you can see here, and I've upgraded this wire. It was puny and thin, put something substantial on. We've got some 18 gauge on the ground there, which we've brought round there. So let's have a look at the capacitors that came out, closer look. So there we are. It's like a stick of dynamite, and you can see what mess those are in. See, punctured there and gumption coming out of that one. So look at this one. You can see punctured and gumption coming out of that one. I'm just looking for a date on there actually. Is there a date? Doesn't look like it, but we know it's about 1975. I can have 100 microfarad, 100 plus at 350 volts. Be that big. Here's a single 100 at 350 volts, and even if that was double at 350 volts, it wouldn't be as big as that, would it? Just shows how things have come on. That one actually doesn't look in too bad a shape. And the last one, and he's got gumption coming out of him too, you can see there. So he's what's happened to my light? It's gone droopy. Just lifted it up. He's gone he's all over as well. So they're all over. Now then, we've had this switch out, and you can see now we're safe as houses with this switch only having two in there. So I took the switch out to get those caps out, and you can see that if we look, not a lot of solder on there and virtually nothing on that side. They've just laid them across, so we're going to have to do a little job on that as well. And I don't know how much length. Yes, we've just about got enough length left. The pilot light came out of the hole and followed the switch in sympathy. But once we get that switch sorted out, just tidied up, we should be, and I've just got to fasten this board down, and then this is done. It's ready to roll. Right, we can start running this up. I'll put the switch upside down, but never mind. So this switch here, I've got it so it's safe, that it's not going to come off, but I've not gone mad with it because this cable is garbage, all of it. It's just absolute junk. So when we do our build into this, all this cable, all this junk is coming out, and we're going to rewire all this properly and make a nice job of it. The problem with these switches is that you have to rub off the chrome on them with a light, you know, a fine file, otherwise the solder doesn't stick properly on them. It's soldered up okay, but it's not up to the standard, and you know, we're only testing this out. We're just doing tests with it. It's not going to be permanent, and it's certainly not good enough to go out, you know, into the wide world to be used, because this cable is just junk. It's just horrible stuff. So we're getting rid of that. All of that will go. This some of it obviously is into the transformer, so we can't, you know, we're not going to be able to get rid of that. But anything that's, you know, connected to switches and things, fuse holders, things like that, this bulging will also be going. This bulging, because that they're just a no-no nowadays. And you can get an IEC that will go into those holes now. In fact, we did fit one on something, and I can't remember what it was. So that, you know, that will be going. All these ground wires, junk, they'll all be going. I mean, again, we can't do anything about the wires coming out of the transformers. Right, let's get this powered up and hone in on it. All looking good. Only 64 volts on the variac. Let's go up a bit more. Pilot light's just beginning to show. 200 volts there. 99 volts on the variac. Usually about 120 volts on here. We start to get sound. 132. We'll just sit there for a minute. Yes, we've got sound. Let's just turn that up a bit more. Yeah, that's warming up now. I have to be a bit careful with this speaker. $182 volts, 83 volts, 369 on there. That's looking good. I'll go up a bit more at 200 volts now. Oh yes, he's quite he's got loads of power now. He was really quiet before. So recapping that board, even though we're not going to keep it, we've just recapped it. Just we can use those capacitors again. The hot glue will come off those pretty easy, and I've left plenty of lead on them to be used again. Even if they don't go onto another amplifier permanently, they'll do for testing and projects. So that's fine. 240 volts, 465 we've got on there, and that's a beast now. Only on number 1, and it's as you know, it were flat out and not as loud as that before. So good. Let's just pull out the lead and turn it up. A bit of a problem with this pot. That is so quiet. Put some gumption in that pot. We'll switch off before we do it, and you can see those caps are discharging much better than the other ones did. They're actually, and I've just realised, they were wired in series and there were no balancing resistors on them. I'll put some of that in to clean it. That's alcohol, and then we'll put some of this proper switch cleaner in to lube it. This stuff, well, it's not proper switch cleaner, they both are, but this is Servosol switch cleaning, lubricating. That's good. So you see we're down to 11 volts. We're at 240 volts, 488 volts, 489, yeah, 490 volts. So we're okay with those caps, no problems there. 500 volts rated, so that's good. So we've got the basis of a decent power supply now. If we build something into this, which obviously we are going to, that's good. All good stuff. We had a bit of imbalance on the bias, so I'm going to swap a pair of the tubes round and just see if we can bias it up a bit closer, just get a bit better match. Right, so I'll swap those tubes over, and if we go onto this side, got 1.66, and if we go onto this side, 1.69. Now, considering the output transformers a perfect match on this, I'm expecting those to be pretty close now. 1.66 divided by 22.3 is 74 milliamps divided by 2, 37 milliamps. 461. $17.1. Let's see what the other side is. $38 milliamps, that's just touched. 17.5. I don't know how I do it. Just swap the outer tubes round and I've got a perfect match on those. 17.1 and 17.5. Cha-ching! That's absolutely spot on. And that's a wrap. That's it. It's done. So we're going to get it back in its case and we're going to plug it in and just stick the guitar through it and see what happens. I've just realised something else as well, and I never really delved too deeply into this switch wiring because we're changing it anyway, but I noticed when the amp was turned off, which the variac was still turned up but the amp was switched off, we still got a slight humming in the speaker, and that is an indication that the switch is wired on the negative side, which they used to do in those days, but that's a no-no now. So, but we're changing all that wiring anyway. It was just a point there. Right, I've got it back in the case, and I thought I initially plugged it in and I thought I'll just do this quick demo. I'll put my dinner on first and get it cooking, and then we'll get this, just have a quick listen to this. But after I plugged it in and started playing on it, I thought stuff dinner, and you'll see why. Just have a listen to this beast. Sounds awesome, absolutely awesome. And really, you know, the more I think about this, and I did have a bit of a look at the schematic, and really it's like a giant 5E3. The only difference is we've got, instead of having a cathodion phase inverter, we've got that long tail purr going on there. But this thing just sounds awesome. We're going to have to look at the schematic and see, you know, just see exactly how this is put together, because I only had a quick scan and it was the power supply I was scanning. Really, I didn't really take a lot of notice of the rest of it because I didn't have a lot of time. Also, the schematic I looked at had a send and return on it, I do remember that, and this amp doesn't have a send and return. Anyway, more playing. I've also got a reverb pedal. That's in single coil mode now on this Les Paul. So if we just take the reverb off. So let's try it on the, so this is the now on the bridge pickup with in single coil. Without the reverb. that sounds absolutely awesome. Let's try it on humbucker on the neck. So there we go. What can I say about that? I just can't get over how good that sounds. I just didn't expect a simple power amp, you know, with just a volume to sound so good. So what I think now I'm going to do with this amp sounds so good. I'm still going to turret board this amp, but I'm going to copy this circuit. But what I'm going to do on this first stage, on that first tube, I'm just going to put a volume and a tone, just like on a 5E3, exactly the same, just a 5E3 tone stack in this, and I reckon that will sound pretty darn good, because that, I just can't, that's a bit noisy, that reverb pedal. It's only a cheap one. It's a Behringer one. I say cheap, they're not bad, nothing brilliant. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking really, is just to just turn this into a 5E3. To me, the only thing this lacks, it lacks a tone control, but it could do with we could do with driving this channel a little bit more into the power amp side of it. That's just awesome. But now I've got another surprise. Now when I went down to the shop to take some repairs back, I spotted this in the shop, and it's a THD hot plate, and I thought, that's just what we need. It's a 16 ohms one, and we're going to have a little play with it. And I'm going to have to put my glasses on because I can't see the writing on it. Bulbs on. That's a little bit crackly. Oh yes, can see the bulbs glowing. I had a plectrum somewhere, or did I? No, I wasn't using one, was I? So it's flat out now. junction on that. It's a little bit crackly. Let's just take it off there. So I've got that on about number 6, something like that. Number 6, is that? Yeah. Put it at half volume. So it has taken off some of the top off it as well. Let's go up to 12, minus 12 dB. Wow, that sounds really tasty. So it didn't sound so good when it was turned flat out, and obviously that is through this hot plate. Let's just take it up to halfway. Just wow, that is tasty sound. Oops. sounds amazing. That's at half volume. Obviously, if I hadn't got the plate on it, it'd be blowing the windows out. Even though, you know, it's not got much of a gain stage, it's incredibly loud. And obviously, my neighbours wouldn't like it. I'm pushing it now, even at that. Doesn't sound so good once it gets past number 5. But that sounds awesome. And you know, that I could take that out and just use it for a gig if I'm playing tonight, and just like plonk it down on the cab, nothing to it, just a volume control. And you know, there's a lot to be said for just simple amps. If you think of a Fender Champ, you know, it's just got a volume on it, that's all it's got. You know, and some people look at an amp like that and think, oh, it's got no controls, it'll be no good. And you know, it does make you wonder that the more tone stacks and the more gadgets and things you put into an amp, you're just losing something. Because I must admit, I never expected that to sound that good. I'm absolutely stunned. But really, there's no surprise. You could argue that some people do say this, that the Fender Champ is one of the best sounding amps ever. And 26 components. Simplicity. Same with this, it's a larger version of simplicity, really. So I think what we're going to do with this now is I'm going to stick to this design, as I've said. I'm going to wire this onto a turret board, because that PC board's getting a bit, it's 50 years old and it isn't faring very well. The traces on the bottom aren't great. They look great, but you can tell when, you know, when you start soldering, and I only use a small iron, small wattage iron, and if you got to be on and off them straight away, or they were burning up, they were just coming off basically. So, and not just, you know, normally when people hold the iron on a trace too long, it just comes off, you know, round the hole where the component goes through, but these were just peeling off. So it shows a sign that, you know, that's not in great shape. So turret board in it, use exactly the same circuit, but we just put in a volume and a tone, and I think that'll be great. We'll be able to drive the gain stage a bit. You know, this amp doesn't sound fantastic when it's cranked up flat out, and you know, maybe there's slight tweaks in the circuit we could do to make that sound better. But all in all, and to be fair, who's going to push this much past number 5? And I dare say, you know, we've only basically, I've just put a clean guitar through this and a reverb pedal. You know, if we could, I've not got any distortion pedals, any overdrive pedals at all. I've got a multi effects unit which is packed away in the stuff I gig with every weekend. But that's all really. But you know, stick your favourite drive pedal in this, and you've got a massive heavy metal machine. It's a beast. Very simple thing, you know. Probably stick your Kemper through it, whatever you've got. And this amp will be appearing again in another video or two, and it will, something else very tasty will be powering this amp. So until then, that may be 2 or 3 videos ahead though, because we're waiting for parts on a lot of things at the moment. So the Vox AC30, we're waiting for parts on that. I'm waiting for parts on another couple of amps. One's coming in, one I bought off eBay that's coming in, and another one that's come from the shop. We're waiting on parts for that, and those will be probably the next videos. And the particular thing that's being used with this, and I'm not saying what it is yet, that's waiting for some tubes, so that might be a week or 2 before we get that up. So this will make another appearance. But that's going to do it for this one. So thanks for watching. You all take care, and I'll see you all in another video. Bye bye for now.